Hey guys, Sean Terra here. We are back with the Flip to Freedom podcast. And I got this awesome interview in the room here with Matt Garabedian. Okay, right. Garabedian. I got it. And what is Garabedian?
Armenian.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's cool.
I'll tell you a quick joke. So anybody that's the last name is I-A-N.
I-A-N.
The joke is it stands for I'm all nose. so that's how you Y-A-N or I-A-N or Armenian.
That's what it is. So cool. We were just chatting here just a quick bit, and it's got quite a story. And we met at actually a mastermind,
yes.
right? And it's funny, we actually really got to meet down at the gym.
Yes.
It was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. We're on the treadmill. We just started having a conversation. You launched your podcast.
Right.
So what's the name of your podcast?
The Phenom Investor Blueprint.
So what is Phenom?
Phenom. Well, I took it from phenomenal.
Oh,
right?
phenomenal.
So it's just a short Phenom.
Yeah.
Because the phenomenal investor. And so I was thinking of some cool things that I could, kind of get a little tagline, and I came up with Phenom.
Right.
And so, to be phenomenal in life is to excel, to do your best at anything.
Yeah.
That goes from, however you live your life. It's not just in business, but the way you live as a human
person
being.
Right.
That's it, right. So
the best version
the Phenom investor, that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So but you have your real estate wholesaling / fix and flip business, right?
Yeah.
In Fresno?
That's correct.
So he's in Fresno. So what made you, and we'll kind of get back to your story. So what made you go from actually being a wholesaler, fix and flip or whatever, and then move into education, like teaching?
Well, I like helping people, and I came from a team mentality. I was telling you before we started here that my whole background's in sports.
Yeah.
So when you get into sports at a high level, it's never the individual, it's all about the team.
Right.
And so, through my experience, I, developed qualities that, would showcase my skills to lead, to provide information, to empower others, to educate, to motivate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always feel, no man is an island, right? So how can we take the experiences that we have
mm-hmm.
and help others?
Right.
So I think I've gone through the ringer in some sorts. I've been in this business now 10 years.
Yeah.
I haven't seen everything, but I'm kind of getting to that point where,
Yeah, I've been 15, I haven't seen everything either.
Right,
so I'm always learning new stuff every single day.
Exactly. And that's what's amazing about the business.
Okay, so we've got all sorts of people that are listening. They're brand new. They've never got a deal. They maybe are trying to think about getting into real estate. And there's some people doing some serious deals and stuff like that. So for the people that are brand new and they still haven't got their first check, you never forget your first wholesale check. So let's take us back there and tell us what that looked like.
Oh yeah, that's true. So my first wholesale deal, I sent my first letter campaign out,
mm-hmm.
and I got a few phone calls. One of the phone calls was a man who said, "I'm interested in selling my house."
So what brought you to actually get the letter and send the letter and what?
I first learned about wholesaling.
Well, where were you at the time in your life when you said, "Okay, I'm going to send a letter campaign"? Because you just don't wake up and go, "I'm going to send a letter campaign," right?
So this was probably 2009.
Okay.
I started learning about wholesaling, and what brought me to that, at the time I was in a commercial brokerage.
Yeah.
My experience up to that point was selling apartment units,
mm-hmm.
and so I also wanted to see if I could try my hand in learning about retail development, office space, just learning how to lease commercial buildings.
Right.
So around this time, 2009, if you could remember back, if you were in the business, it was a terrible time to be in real estate, period, and even a worse time to be in commercial.
Right.
There's no development, tenants aren't leasing spaces, so it was tough. I remember looking at a mentor there, and he was in the business, since I was born. And he was literally at his desk one day like this, like shaking his head. I walk into his office, and I said, "Dude, what's wrong?" He's like, "I'm tired of this business. It's the ups and downs. I've got deals in development that are, in 5 years. I don't know if it's ever going to close." Wow. He said, it's too chaotic. It's too up and down. It's driving me nuts. And this is a guy that's been in the business since the late 70s.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, wow, I don't want to be him in 15, 20 years making the same mistake.
Right.
He's actually told me, he's like, I've been researching. There's actually ways to buy properties with no money down. I'm like, really?
He said that?
He told me. Because he was looking for other things, you know, a guy that's been, you
Wow.
know, versed in commercial space for many
Doing
years.
development. He's looking for doing deals with no money down.
Yeah, because he's sitting, you know, bare bones with no deals closing. And
Right.
he's like, I gotta make some money.
Right. What am I
So
going to do?
he's researching. He actually turns me on to, and you probably know the name, remember a guy named Preston Ely?
Yeah, Preston.
Preston Ely. He was like the first rock star kind of guy like, that I saw, you know, that was, you know, talking about being cool, hanging out at Starbucks, like flashing checks.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, I could kind of relate
Him
to
and
him.
Pete.
Yeah, Pete the Ninja.
Pete the Ninja.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I check his stuff out, and he's talking about, you know, how to, you know, become financially free. And
Yeah.
there's what actually you could buy, you know, houses with no money down, and then, you know, it turns into wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
So I grab a couple of his courses, and I'm learning, and then through that, I somehow get connected to the fortune builders.
Yep.
So at the time, he and I decided we want to buy into this mastery program. I have no money, but we could get into the deal for like 12 grand.
Okay.
So I go to my wife and I say, babe.
And this is 2009.
Yes. I'm like, babe, I found this information.
Yep.
They want 12 grand to get into it. She's like, you're already a broker. What else do you need to know about real estate? I said, well, there's something here. Like, there's some concepts that I'm
missing.
I'm
right?
missing,
Yeah.
and you know, I could pay them. I'm gonna learn. She's like, you know, I'd rather you just stick with what you're doing. But if you believe in it, I'll roll with you.
Right.
And I'm like, great.
That's a good supportive
It
wife,
is,
right?
It is, which is very important in this business.
Yeah, I
That's
can
another
tell
topic.
you. Most wives will be like, "What are you nuts?"
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
freak out.
So, you know, me being the deal maker type, I didn't have the money. So I go to the guy that's selling the membership. I said, look, can we work out a payment plan? I'll put some money down and I'll pay you guys over a 6-month period.
Right.
They ended up getting back to me and saying, okay. So I finance the education, I get the information, I just dive into it.
Right.
Well, you know, it would be a cool story if I told you, and then next thing you know, I'm just doing deals left and
Yeah, I
right.
know.
The truth of it is, you know, I was yet to get comfortable with it. I went back to what I knew. I learned it, and I'm like, you know, it could work. But
So
I went back.
what was the disconnect?
Well, just probably the belief that it was a real thing. and I
So
could-
belief that it actually worked for you.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So, fast forward about a year or two later, I'm still stuck doing the same thing that I'm doing, not, you know, making the type of money that I felt like I could make.
Right.
And, you know, I'm up late at night, which I was doing all the time, stressed out.
Right.
I'm on the computer, and I end up, you know, joining Alex's Facebook group, the Wholesaling Houses Full-Time, right?
Yep. Or full-time. Right.
Yeah. And I see these people all over the country posting checks like, I just wholesale this, I made 10 here, I made 15 here, and I'm thinking, these guys have probably a fourth of the knowledge that I have at this point. I'm a licensed broker, I've done deals, I have this information, why am I not doing this?
Right.
So you kind of get to that point where, like, I think Tony Robbins says, you know, you don't make that change till you're sick of your situation.
Right. When you're so disturbed with a situation that you're forced into action.
Correct.
Right.
And we all get to that point at some point, I think. And so I said, that's it. I'm going for it. You know, no more excuses, no more, you know, self-doubt.
And when was that? Do you remember?
2010 is when I made that decision.
So 2010. Yes. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, 2012.
2012.
2012. So the first thing we learn is send marketing out.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, okay, you know, yellow letters at that time still had.
Those were
Like people were like, oh, you took time to write this letter to me. So I send out.
Now they get them from 100 different people, right?
It's crazy, right? So I send it out, 300 letter campaign.
300, okay.
300 letters. Get a call or two. One guy says, yeah, I'm interested in selling. Drive by the property and you know, let me know. So it turns out this particular property wasn't too far from my office, so I get in my truck, I drive over there, and the advice that I remember receiving at the time was, if you're not uncomfortable with the amount of money you're offering the seller, it's too high.
Right.
That was like
you don't feel sick in your stomach.
Like you have to be like physically ill to give the offer.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think, okay, like I'll try that. So
that was your strategy going in. Don't know the numbers, I'm just going to be sick giving them an offer.
Exactly.
Right?
So at that time, I had no skill set, no idea of what to value a house or, you know, look at what the repair amount could be.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in front of the house. The house is rough. It's kind of in a, you know, lower price neighborhood.
In Fresno.
In Fresno, yeah. So I'm looking at this house. I get the guy on the phone. I'm like, yes, sir, I'm in front of your house. I took a look at it. I'd like to make you an offer. He's like, okay, what do you think? And I sat there, and I remember it was like the longest pause in the world. My heart's beating out of my chest. I'm sweating. I say, yeah, I could pay you $15,000 for it. He's like, I can't pay. He's like, I can't take 15. How about 25? I said, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds great. Sounds great. He's like, okay, we'll get the paperwork. I'll swing by the office, tomorrow, and I'll sign it.
Sweet.
Great. So I hang up. I say, wow, I just have an offer. I think it's going to get accepted. I have no idea if this is a deal.
Right.
No idea.
No idea.
No clue.
No, you don't know the ARV or what it's worth or the repair value or anything.
Nothing. I just figured I'd lowball the guy, and if he comes back at the number, I'm going to say yes, and he did.
Right.
Go back to the office, and at that time, I didn't have a cash buyer's list.
Right.
So since I had a little bit of background in brokerage, I had access to the MLS. I get on the MLS and I do a map search, and I find that there's one house that sold right down the street, same square footage and characteristics for $52,000. So I'm like, wow, there might be a deal here.
Yeah.
So I look up the tax records, and it's an LLC that bought the property. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to skip trace or even know how to do that.
Right.
But I had the agent's phone number.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay, well, he has the relationship. Let me call him. I call this guy up. I'm like, hey, my name's Matt. I've got this deal in the neighborhood. I noticed you sold a similar house. Mm-hmm. Would your client be interested in buying another one?
Right.
He's like, well, how much is it? I said, well, $52,000. It's a comp. I'm thinking, let's go for the moon.
Yeah.
This is what he says, Sean. He says, don't tell anybody else about the deal. We'll have the money in escrow in a week. I'm like, come on, dude. I'm like, great, I'll get the paperwork over.
Right.
Hang up to him. I said, there's no way that I just made $27,000 on this deal.
On a couple phone calls.
This is too good to be true.
Right.
So I
just want everyone listening right now, you made a really good point, right? No cash buyers list, but you were able to find a property that's sold and you connected with the agent.
Yes.
Right, which is really important.
Yes.
So if you're in a market right now and you don't have cash buyers and you're worried about that, connecting with the agent's huge. You actually can do it on Zillow. Right. You can find the agent on Zillow that sold the property and be able to connect with them, and they have the buyer, so it's perfect.
Yeah, and it turned out to
worked.
It worked. It was a one-shot, one-kill scenario. But, it was a 2-week escrow, so I was tripping out the whole time. I'm like, is this going to happen? Is the seller going to find out I'm making money? Is the buyer going to show up? Is he real? So
are they all going to come in at the same time? I didn't know that. Yeah, we're all going to show up at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, right.
Here's your $27,000, right?
Sure enough, the title company says buyer came in, signed the paperwork, signed the deed. Wow, part one.
Yeah, part one.
Yeah, the next day they called me. Yep, the seller's scheduled to come in, or the buyer's scheduled to come in at 2 o'clock. 1:45, I'm looking at the clock, 1:51, finally 2 o'clock, I'm sweating. I'm like, this has got to happen.
Is this guy actually going to really come in? Right.
Exactly. 15 minutes after 2, I call them, yep, they funded it. I said, wow. This was a mind-blowing experience. It changed my whole perspective. Because, in my brokerage mind, I would just, I've got guys that I could sell properties to. Either I'm going to stick a sign in this guy's front yard, or I'm going to call another cash buyer.
Right.
He's going to buy the deal. What am I going to make? Well, on a $52,000 or like a $25,000 sale.
3%.
Yeah, $1,500.
Right. Maybe. Yeah.
So I said, wow, I just made $27,000 on a deal that I didn't have to use my credit, I didn't have to buy it, I didn't have to do anything. I just connected a motivated seller and a cash buyer, brought them together, and I just made $27,000 on a $52,000 deal.
Yeah, and that's why I tell people, when you're getting your first check, now what did that do for your belief?
It made a complete 180.
Yeah, that's it, because you go from, can I do it, doubt, fear, you never know if it's going to happen, to where, bam, now you've actually accomplished it. You have $27,000 check.
Proof of concept.
Changes everything.
So, and then it changed my identity. I went from taking my broker hat off, which was, finding deals and kind of writing up offers, running around town, just being an order taker.
Oh, I said, yeah. Right?
Into now I'm an investor. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like, hey,
Yeah, you got a leg up now, right?
I'm in a different stratosphere here now. So as that goes on, I'm like, well, how do I do more?
Right.
And so I made so many mistakes after that point in terms of, I'd buy a list once, mail it, and then buy a second list.
Yeah, I know. It's, yeah.
So, I made every, mistake in the book.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was interesting because, at the time, there wasn't really a lot of people knowing or understanding wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I'd have to call like the title companies and explain it to them, like, oh, we don't do double escrows.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this is not a double escrow. I'm actually just assigning it for a fee.
Yeah.
And so they had to run it up.
How does that work?
Yeah.
Let me talk to our attorney, see
Exactly.
if we can do that, right?
Well, let me run up the flagpole and see if we could do it.
Right.
So, there was an education process with the title company. And I remember, with some of the buyers, I was almost asking them permission if it was cool, if I could bring them deals and make money off of it.
Yeah.
I would just still like.
Can I give you deals at 50 cents on the dollar? Right.
It was silly in hindsight.
Yeah.
But you just don't know better, until you get around people that are doing it at a high level. And you learn, and then people are making, incredible careers out of it, and it's just.
Okay, so how did you bridge the gap from one deal to doing consistently 1 to 2 to 3 deals a month?
Yeah, I think the key was I continued to invest in myself. Mm-hmm. I've always been a believer in investing in myself and getting in rooms that people are smarter than me and doing better than me, because just by your association, it's true. Like the circle of 5 people you hang out with, your temperature is gonna rise up, right? That thermostat that Ed talks about.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. So I was doing that before I even knew it was a thing. And so I dug deep, and I hired mentors, I attended masterminds, and I just started learning the business. Trial and error. And so I didn't start hiring somebody. So I was a solo guy from 12 to 2016 really. So I had 4 years that I was still kind of at the time I was building a property management business. I was doing a lot of different things, and when I first met my mentor, he said, sell the management business.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's holding you back. Right. And I'm like, this is my baby. I built this thing. It's bringing me cash flow every month. He's like, I'm telling you, it's holding you back from growing your business.
Right.
So that was one of the first scary pieces of advice that I had to take.
Right.
It was like cut the vine and go for it.
Yeah, because if you focus on multiple different things, it's pretty difficult to basically be great at every single one, especially if one's not built up yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So so great advice. So you sold it. Got rid of it.
Yeah.
And then, so what was that where you're doing 2 or 3 deals? Was there some key thing that happened where you? Because there's a whole group that haven't got their first check, so that was great. So you sent out mail campaign, that was awesome. And then there's this whole group that are trying to keep it consistent. So the income goes up and down, and they got 1 month they get a check, then 2 months later they don't get anything, and then they're freaking out, they get a check again, and then all that. What was able to make it consistent?
Well, I would say for anybody in that situation, you guys are one deal away from changing your life. I think all of us have had that unicorn deal early in our career that just put us on a different trajectory. For me, it was a 16-unit apartment complex. I was literally hand-delivered the lead because I was in the management business. And guys, here's a great tip: if you're in if you have property management relationships, nurture those, and also look for licensed process servers who are professional. They send eviction notices, and they post notices on behalf of landlords. So I was in this.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I was in this office building. I was subletting like a little 100-foot cubbyhole, and the licensed process server was working, and I would give her evictions to do. One day she comes, it's like, call these people. They're in some issues. They need to sell. I'm like, okay, great. So, and I told her what I do, so she knew, like, hey, Matt buys properties, Matt buys houses. So she brings in the lead, and I call the sellers. And when I'm saying it's a unicorn, it was like everything lined up. They had very low debt on the property. They had an unbelievable interest rate. They had a motivation, and they were done with it. They wanted to move on. And so I ended up structuring the deal subject to the existing loan at the existing rate was like 5%. It already had cash flow. It had problem tenants. That was the thing. But with that much equity, it was like no problem. We'll go through it. So at the time,
and what price point is this?
We picked it up. It was 16 units for $525.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this is before the market really took off. So in hindsight, I probably sold it too soon. But, you know, with that being said, I still knew when you take a subject to, you have to have that exit strategy if the bank calls the note due or
Right.
the cash, you know, to pay it off. I wasn't in that position, so I brought a partner in.
Mm-hmm.
I said, look, you know, this is a deal, I want to bring you in. Let's go in. I'll split the down payment,
Mm-hmm.
right, and I'll split the rehab with you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, okay, great. We ended up doing it, and we rehabbed it, and we stabilized it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then ended up turning around and selling it for over $1 million.
Wow.
So each of us cashed out and made $275,000 each.
So that was huge.
And then that was the deal that allowed me to take off, because
Mm-hmm.
now I made some money, and then I was able to now reinvest into my marketing.
Right.
So I went, you know, I didn't go crazy with it or whatever. I'm like, okay, I need to build my business now.
Right.
So that's really what allowed me to kind of separate from, you know, doing a deal here.
I always tell people it's like, you know, it's the typical conversion numbers are 1 in 25, right?
Mhm,
You'll
yeah.
get one deal for every 25, and then I see out of, you know, 20 deals, you're gonna have one that's a monster.
Yeah.
Right? You're gonna have a 60, 70, 80, 100, $200,000 deal.
Yep.
And that deal can literally be the unicorn, put you in the market, and then if you reinvest aggressively 25% in marketing and do it in a way where you can handle the leads, then you can create some significant growth.
Correct.
You know, in
Correct.
your business. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did.
Mhm.
You know, and then I learned about shortly after that, 2016. I went to my first mastermind,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting in this group of guys that are kind of like me, right? They're sharing the same struggles, they're sharing the same thought process, they're sharing the same strategies. You know, and there's a lot of big hitters in the room. At that point, looking back, these guys have all gone on and doing some big things. But
Yeah.
it was like, you know, they were all kind of trying to figure out what they were going to do.
Right.
And you know, the whole topic was hiring.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can I hire someone? I mean, like,
Right.
I can't afford that.
Yeah.
You know, but they're like, you got to hire. You got either your first hire's got to be an assistant or you're an acquisition guy. So you know, I was like, it was like an epiphany.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, I could hire people because I'm providing value, right? I'm driving leads to the business,
Mhm.
and they'll come work the leads and they make money on commission.
Yeah.
So
I think the same thing with me too. I sat in a mastermind and they talked about hiring, and I didn't think I could hire. I didn't think I could hire anybody. I was like, well, I can't hire anybody,
Yeah.
right? But then when I did actually make the first hire, I really understood leverage.
Right.
You know, of leverage of your time, because we all have these massive to-do lists of everything we have to do when it comes to as a solopreneur operating. But imagine if you just take a chunk of it and then assign it to a person, take another chunk, assign it to a person. It's liberating because now you can focus on working on your business, finding more people to take over. And once you hire one time, it becomes addictive.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a game changer.
It's a game changer.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And so I was talking with guys that were like, I haven't seen a house talk to a seller in 5 years. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Yeah.
And they're just like, you know, their deals are coming in like a conveyor belt.
Right.
So again, it was that, okay, I see someone doing it, now let me go do that proof of concept.
Right.
Right? So I started connecting the dots. And when, you know, it was amazing feeling when, you know, you have your acquisition guy tie up a deal,
Mm-hmm.
and then we wholesale it and get a wire without really my, you know, involvement.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, a deal happened without you touching every aspect.
Right. I said, how can we multiply this? This is amazing.
See, I'm a control freak mentality,
Mhm.
so it was hard for me to give up. My mentality was, you know what? I don't want to waste the time teaching someone. I just want to get it done and do it right myself.
Right.
So I had to overcome that barrier because I felt like it was a waste of time teaching.
Well, that's interesting you say that because, you know, most guys, my biggest fear happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I hired 2 guys.
Mhm.
I poured into them. I mean, I don't want to say wasted. I spent a whole summer with these guys, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. I was just giving every piece of information, all my knowledge to these guys and just pouring into them. I overpaid them. I compensated them. I just gave everything I had.
Right.
And the worst thing that could happen to someone is you train your competition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what happened to me. These guys came to me out of the blue and said, we're leaving. I said, what?
No, you're not.
Yeah, like, are you serious? And so I felt like my world crashed.
Yeah.
I said, oh my God, like I went from having, at the time, 2 acquisition guys and a processor to Matt and a processor.
Right.
And I was very shook.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, like this is a mistake.
Yeah. So what do you do now to kind of so that doesn't happen again?
Right. Yeah, I have a document that I
A document.
and I said, look,
That's this thick, right?
I've paid thousands of dollars.
Attorney written.
So there was a non-compete, but in the early days, this is probably not legal, but I told him, look, I'm gonna pour into you. I'm gonna show you everything that I do. I'm gonna show you how I run my business. If you go out, and compete with me on purpose, like you maliciously steal this information and then leave to compete, I'm gonna send you a 1099 for $200,000.
Right.
As part of the cost of the education that you just received.
Yeah.
And I made them sign it.
Oh, really?
And I got their information. So I'm like, if you leave me, you're gonna get a 1099 from me for $200,000. I'm gonna report it to the IRS.
Right.
And so that was like, oh no,
That stopped them from.
I'm not sure that that's really legal.
Yeah, I know.
But I use that as a a kind of
scare tactic.
But then you learn is like, okay, I hired the wrong guys. There's assessments and you ask deeper rooted questions to understand their motivation and who they are as a person. I didn't understand core values, Sean, so I would just hire anybody with a pulse. Like, hey, you want to work? Let's go.
I remember one of my second hires was a VA, and I went to the cheap, and she charged like $2.30 an hour, and I was like, I want to get the cheapest, and I had my leads going to her at this one time, and I'm like, what a dumb mistake. I had another issue where I had my acquisition guy, my disposition guy, kind of my COO guy, and my lead manager, and my COO guy, which is one of my best friends today, got an offer from an elevator company, and it was just an offer he couldn't refuse. So he took that. Almost like literally like a ridiculous, where he was making double what he would make with me. So I was like, dude, you have to take it. Then, literally a week later, my acquisition guy dropped dead from a heart attack.
Wow.
Yeah, which is terrible. And then my lead manager left. So we're doing deals and doing the business, and all of a sudden I found myself a solopreneur again. And I remember thinking, I'm like, I started going on, I was taking calls and going on appointments. I'm like, oh, this sucks. It's like,
I feel like I can't rebuild this again. Like I just did all of this and now I'm back to school.
Well, I felt myself in that spot. I was like stuck, and I'm like, okay, what just happened? How am I going to replace these guys? Because my acquisition guy was amazing. He was a contractor. He was amazing. But I was like, you know what? I was like, I got to dig in. So I started marketing for people, started doing interviews, and started filling spots. But it seems like when you get something built, you either want to build it more, or then there becomes transition in that, where you let some, like we recently just let some people go because they weren't cutting us, and now we're bringing on, we got more people we're bringing on. It's a constant evolution.
Yes.
So it's funny because everyone kind of looks and they go, is there ever a point where you actually get there in your business?
Right.
And the answer is no, right? It's no. You never get there. It's always evolving. It's always growing. It's always changing.
Right.
Just like we are, as an organism, always grows and changes. So, what's been some challenges in your business?
Boy, I've had a lot.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I know. It's like
it's that.
So what happened? So you had these guys leave you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I
freaked out.
I thought, boy, oh boy, like I'm in trouble. Well, come to find out they were out of the business in 6 months.
Yeah, it happens. It happens all the time.
Yeah, right?
I see it. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go crush it. And all of a sudden, they're gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of eye-opening in the sense that you've got to be cut from a certain type of cloth to be a business owner.
Right.
Right. When money's not coming in but bills are due, you got to be writing those checks, and so you got to have some courage. You have some grit because it gets tough, and no matter where you're at in life in your business, you're going to have challenges. I've been going through challenges the last couple months where Ed Milet, right? He talks about there's a lot of false starts.
Yeah.
You think you got it going, and boom, you get hit.
Yeah, something comes out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I've been taking it on the chin. It seems like for the last 3 or 4 years, but every year the income's more, but the trials and the tribulations start coming.
Right.
And you're trying to get it going, and you're working. I mean,
It's weird because he talks about that temperature.
100%,
Because you're trying to get up to that higher temperature, and you put forth the energy and you raise your game. But it seems like, and you guys can attest to this, it seems like that the forces, the devil, whatever, just literally just all these things come up to try to stop you.
100%. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
And I had a similar situation where when you start kind of getting going, and I have that shiny object syndrome, so I'm wholesaling, and I'm like, but yeah, flippers.
Yeah.
That's where you want to go. Those guys are making real money.
I know.
Right? So I wake up one day thinking I want to become a flipper. I have no.
So explain it, like you're buying, fixing, and flipping.
Buying, fixing, and flipping, correct. So
Right.
you're taking on more liability, more debt, but you think
More risk,
but you think there's the more
Bigger
gold
spread.
at the end of the rainbow, right?
Right.
You don't understand the in between. So with my mentality, I'm that quick start guy. If you're taking the Colby, I'm a high quick start.
Me too.
So I don't think through things too much. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
Exactly.
And so I wake up one day, I'm gonna be a flipper. And at the time, I had a guy who was a really nice gentleman. He was from Portugal, and he owned a ton of apartment units in town. I mean, he came as an immigrant with no shoes and built up this amazing portfolio of apartments. Wow. He was a total hothead, right? I mean, but for whatever reason, he and I got along. He trusted me. So he called me one day. He's like, I have about $1 million. I want to flip properties. I want to be partners with you.
Oh, cool.
He's like, you're good at finding deals. I'm good at fixing them. Let's partner. Okay, yeah, that sounds great to me.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is this is done on a handshake, right? So this is something that guys, if you do handshake deals, get a little smarter, and I'll tell you why. So at the time, he was we did this handshake deal. We're flipping properties, and he tells me keep everything in your name. So I have some personal issues going on. I might be getting a divorce, and so I'm like, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, you're just like, okay, let's just keep going.
Let's do deals. And I didn't understand about a joint venture or protecting your interests or anything like that. And at the time we're turning over $500,000, right? So it's all cash deals, and we're rolling. I get a call at 4:00 in the morning. One morning I wake up, my phone's ringing. It's a son. He's like, this man's name was I'll call him Mr. Korea. Mr. Korea died in a car accident.
In a car accident.
Car accident, gone. And we're in the middle of several projects, and I'm like, everything's in my name. Right? 48 hours later, I'm getting a knock on my office door from the soon-to-be, or the widow. I want all the money. I know you have millions of dollars of his. I want it all. I'm like, hold the line.
Okay, wait a minute here. They're in properties right now.
Yeah, they're in properties.
I'm in the middle of fixing and flipping.
Yes.
I got contractors on the side. Bills that need to be paid.
Bad sense in your gut every morning, and you're like, this is not right. Like, what's happening? So.
You just want to move forward and get your business going and cranking, and now you have this side distraction over here that's just keeping you up at night, wondering how's it all gonna pan out.
Yeah, and that's part of business, guys. It's the more you get going and the more deals you make, you have a bigger target on your back. So. And so that was a story that I when you mentioned one of your guys dying of a heart attack, it was like kind of that same situation.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck with a bunch of properties, his crews, I don't know what's going on, so I'm trying to get these.
So you have to unwind out of all this.
Unwind it, go through it.
Keep the principal.
Yep.
Keep the profit.
Yep.
Make sure it's all done. Document everything.
And then handle the oncoming. They want to go through the deposition and the discovery, and then like this is just not what I anticipated.
Okay, so this is a great question. So adversity hits.
Yeah.
Right? Adversity, whatever it might be. So you have adversity hits. how do you keep your positive attitude in your focus? And because what happens is, I tend to recoil and like almost like hide, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just kind of stop taking, instead of flipping the switch and taking more massive action. How do you, when adversity hits, what do you focus on? How do you keep it, and how do you keep moving forward?
I put all my faith in the Lord. So, you're a Christian man, I'm a Christian man. So when the storms come, I put all my faith in God, and I continue to, praise Him, glorify Him in both good and bad.
Yeah.
And I know the Bible says, all good things come to those who love and trust God. So I know that, always in the back of my mind, He's looking out for me.
Right.
And so no matter the trials, the tribulations, I just stay focused and I trust in Him. Because, unfortunately we can't trust in man. We can't trust in even our own heart sometimes. So trusting in Him is what's got me through the tough times.
Yeah.
It always has.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. Because it's like when the outside circumstances are going chaotic,
Yeah.
right? And it's nuts, and you don't know really why. You can't really explain it, But if you do have that centeredness and do have a trust, it's almost it's almost like a blind trust. Do you know what I mean? Where you do have that trust. It's amazing how where you get to the other side
Yes.
of the storm, or the other side of the whatever you're going through.
Yes.
Then you look back and you're going, I get why that happened now.
100%. We can connect the dots all the way, in our past to see, why we're here today.
Yeah, it introduces you to a person. You see something happen. So
It says in the Bible, it's my favorite verse. It says in Hebrews 11:6, it says, "But without faith, it is impossible to please Him. For those who come to God must believe that He is, and He's a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him." He put that word in my heart, and I've had that word in my heart all my life.
Right.
And so I know that, like you said, it's blind faith, right? So no matter what circumstance, no matter when it's the darkest, no matter when attorneys, partners, money, whatever the case is, when it's hitting you, it's like I'm putting my faith in Him.
Yeah. But it always comes out great on the other side.
It does.
With a learning lesson, and you're better off and more mature as a person than you were prior.
Of course, it doesn't mean that He's going to shower with me with more money.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It means that He's going to give me that peace
Right.
to go through the storm without flipping out.
Right.
That anxiety in this business and that stress is a killer.
Right.
It's either going to literally kill you or you're going to quit.
Right.
Because it'll start hitting you hard, and you've got the winds coming and the seas roaring, and if you don't have that centeredness, it's tough. It's tough. So that's my key.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm with you 1,000% on that one.
Awesome.
Right to there. Okay. So what are you in the process of building now that you're excited about?
I'm still building my business to its potential.
Me too.
Right?
I'm like renovating my office right now. I'm trying to get more desk in there for more sales guys. Right.
Yeah.
I'm doing it right now.
That's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
And as you get into these masterminds, and I join. This year I've spent a lot of money on my self-development.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't help but get in rooms and see other guys that are doing bigger and better. So you're like, okay, well, how do I raise my thermostat? How do I raise my bar? And what I've found is, it's important to try to diversify a little bit. You can't have all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
I'm a wholesale guy at heart. I love wholesaling. It'll always be something that I do. But we do a little bit of wholetailing now. We do a little bit of some flipping if I have the nerve for it. And as I started to grow my coaching side, I'm helping guys get off the ground and start getting traction in their business. And so there's some enjoyment in that.
Yeah.
I like to talk to guys about all the things that we just discussed when things are hammering down on you. How do you develop yourself, develop your skill set. I think there's a lot of need for that because it's entrepreneurship, I say, is a contact sport, and it's very lonely.
Yeah.
So you're getting beat up by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you need to lean on guys that can share their experiences with you. Share their faith. Show that what God's done for them through their business, and That's what I enjoy doing.
Right.
I put a different message out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to skills and tactics. I'm not revolutionary. I mean, there's amazing entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
There's great businessmen like yourself here that have, just revolutionized the industry. I like to, see what works for me, but I'm thinking bigger. I'm thinking, how can we grow and develop us as leaders,
mm-hmm.
which will then trickle down to how we impact our community, our society, and then at home.
Yeah.
What kind of impact are we giving to our kids?
Right.
So
the cool thing is you kind of develop you as an entrepreneur, and then you kind of realize you get to a certain point, and then you able to impact other people in a positive way. But even if it's one person, that one person could be impacted, and it's going to change maybe their life and their lifestyle.
100%.
Might move to a different neighborhood, might spend time with their family and their kids that they never had before. I mean, it's funny, we just came off our event right there, and we have a day that's we call it Money Day. It's like a mini mastermind day, and we had one of the people that was there attending, and he's talking about, he works in this high-level job, and he's like a CEO of this company, and he's got 2 young kids, and he's traveling all over the world, and he spends literally 256 days on just going on the airport and traveling around the world away from his 2 kids.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, just if it makes an impact on one person, right, and it happens to be him, and it gets to spend more time with his family and his children and do things like that, I mean, that's an incredible thing.
I just think, Sean, I mean, you could probably, I don't know if you ever think about this, but how many seeds have you planted?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you've been at this for many years, right? And I know your story of starting this podcast in your car out here, right?
Right, yeah.
100-degree heat and you're
sweating like
just that and what it's grown into here is amazing, and you've planted so many seeds of encouragement, of faith, of success, and I think that's a huge legacy, right? Apart from all the deals you've been able to do personally and help people, like I mean that's something that I look up to.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. I mean, it's when you haven't when they look back on their dot and you happen to be in their world as a person that becomes a dot in their life, which is pretty huge, or leads them in the right direction that can. It's an amazing fulfillment. And you can do a deal and you get a wire for $27,000,
right.
or you get a wire for this or that. That's all good, but that just becomes business.
Sure.
That just becomes consistent. But to change someone's life is amazing. So what you're doing, and I think I don't think everybody evolves to that certain thing, but there are some people that love to impact other people. And what you're doing with your podcast and coaching and teaching other people and sharing your story, I think is great.
Yeah, I think that's my ultimate purpose, and I think that's probably why God put me on this platform, to have some success to a degree in real estate, and then help others kind of let's look at the big picture, right? Like God's put eternity in my heart.
Yeah.
So, if I lose a deal or if I can't do a deal, I'm okay, because I have a bigger purpose. I'm serving Him. I'm able to help people, give them a bigger outlook. I think that's important.
Right. Give them a vision that they never thought they had.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of open up. It's almost like you take if you take a rubber band, you stretch it, right? So say it never recoils back to its original self.
Correct.
Right. So if I can take someone and I can just stretch him and pull him in any different ways, then they'll never recoil back, and that means you're making impact.
Huge impact.
Which is
impact.
which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Cool. So for people right now that are listening, what would be, and I know you shared a lot and said a lot, something that is working like right now in your business that is crushing, right? That they could take back and apply in their business. I always think, if I'm, when it comes to business advice, what is something that could make an impact and help them generate revenue, and maybe get over a hump, like right now, they could take away and they could apply today?
We're talking just business tactical.
Yeah, kind of tactical business, because you got mindset, and leadership and vision and faith and all that. And then what about a tactical thing that they could do that could generate revenue today?
Good question, and I'm a fundamentals guy. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of information. There's a lot of different ways to get a deal, right? So it could get very confusing. Mm-hmm. This business really at its core is simple, right? It's
Yeah, it's not, yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, it's like it's not rocket science,
no,
right?
I'm definitely not.
Yes.
That's more of a guy. So I would say get back to your basics. If you think about, I'm a big sports guy, so when you got spring training and training camp, and all these professional athletes train on fundamentals in the off season. They're doing their core work.
Right.
When spring training starts, what are they doing? Fielding ground balls, taking hits off the tee. Working on their fundamentals. If you leave your fundamentals and start getting in the gray area, that's where you get in trouble in the business. Focus on your money-making activity.
Right.
Like I said, it's contacts, so phone calls, it's conversations, it's offers, it's accepted offers, and then you get the closing. So look at your KPIs, guys. Like, don't make it complicated. If you're trying to you're trying to skirt the system and try to do this push button automation thing, and hope that's going to start actually, producing, get back to picking up the phone and developing rapport on the phone and make offers. Don't be afraid to make offers. Like I have guys sometimes really great at building rapport. They have a great intro, great opening, they ask great questions, and then they just stall and never make that offer.
Because they're afraid to cross that barrier.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're in the business of buying houses.
Right.
So we can't get a deal until we make an offer.
Right.
Right? So if your offer is a little low, then at least it opens the door to have a counter. Okay, so I teach my guys
just exactly what you did. 15 grand, 25, done deal, 27,000. Right.
That's right. So I know it's not earth shattering here, guys. I didn't tell you something like you probably never heard, but it is.
But it's critically important because there are so many different moving parts of the business that you get caught up building a website, get caught up setting up this and doing that and doing this, and even hiring. Hiring is another thing that pulls you off task, but you have to still do what's going to generate revenue
100%.
As you're building your business.
And so the other thing that kind of goes hand in hand with that is what I've done a really good job with, and I'm kind of seeing the benefits of that, is build an amazing buyer's list. I was able to build a buyer's list. I was very focused on that, and so everybody I came across, anybody that was interested, I took their email address and I built this list. So I have a decent sized list now, and what that's brought me to do is maybe there is some in-betweeners that you're getting calls, you're making offers, you're getting a seller to respond, but the ARV's not as high on what your offer is, and it's a little bit skinny, right? What I've been able to do is take some of those skinnier deals, put it out to my list that the local quote unquote guys that have been in the business for a while will pass over. But there's a lot of guys getting in the business that they'll do a flip to make 10 or 15 grand.
Or they'll buy a rental.
Or they'll buy a rental.
Higher.
Exactly. So build your buyer's list. Don't discredit that. Don't wait till you have a deal to find a buyer. Continue to build your buyer's list, because it's cool to call someone and say, I sell real estate. And I've never had a guy say, I'm not interested in talking about buying deals. Never. Everybody wants to buy a deal. Right. And
so, and if you can bring it to them on a stick, they're like done.
Yeah. So, and the other great thing about that is now I get guys that will come to me to help them sell their deal, because I'm kind of known as the guy that can move deals in my area. And so, guys like here in Keighley, right? Like that's their model, right? Yeah, there's dispositions all day. Right. I love that model. Yeah. That makes sense. Like,
no marketing money. Budget. Yeah, get a tack on your fee or to split the spread. It's huge. Yeah, love that.
So build your buyer's list and be focused on that, and then have quality conversations, and just be focused on your fundamentals, guys. Every single day, make that extra call. If you think you've made a lot of calls, double it. You gotta make calls, you gotta make offers, and things will start to crack. It's really the truth, guys. And so it may be that barrier. Maybe you've got to go through 3,000 calls. Get that auto dialer going and just slam through them.
Right.
Slam through them, because you're doing what your competitor won't.
Right.
You know what I mean? We talk about that 1 in 25 in a deal. That may be true for your market, but it's not true all the time. So especially if you don't have a good sense of the market, you may pass over something that's a deal. So build your buyer's list, make those offers, get counters, and then get a number that is going to work, and then get it out to your list, and you'll be surprised.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because everybody wants to have, if you ask that question, wants to have this ninja tactic that's going to change something like that. But honestly, whether you're, when, I like to play golf, or if you're playing baseball, or you're playing some sport, you got to get back to the basics, right? And doing the basics. And if you are doing the basics, but here's the thing, it's just not doing the basics, it's doing the basics right.
There you go.
Right? So doing it right. Just like, who's that coach for UCLA was the most winningest coach in college basketball? John Wooden, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he would bring in the players and they would learn how to do a bounce pass. They would learn how to do a free throw. But what happens is he taught them how to do a free throw right, how to do a bounce pass right, how to do a chest pass, whatever. Not a basketball guy, but they taught them how to do everything the right way, and then do it over and over and over and over again and perfect the way they actually do it. So you might be essentially looking at, and you said one thing, making an offer. Well, guess what? Just that one element, if you get great at making offers, right? In a way of how you say it, and you focus on becoming great at that one thing, that might be the free throw, and you might in turn imagine becoming the Michael Jordan of making offers.
It's amazing thing.
Do you know what I mean? Just on that one thing, making offers.
And
just
it's a basic. You can't get a deal until you make an offer.
I know. You can't do it.
You can't
right?
skip over that.
Yeah, and I was a Marine, so in the Marine Corps, we go on a mission, right? And then after the mission, we do a after action report. In the after action report, we write down, okay, what was the mission? How did we, what did we do great? What did we not do so good, and how can we get better, right? So if you did that after every offer, and you looked at an offer that you made, and you said, hey, how can I get better? What I do great, what I did not do so great, and how can I get better? What happens is you'll grow in hyper speed. The problem is a lot of people, they make an offer and they go, oh, I suck, I didn't get the offer, and they move on.
Yes.
They don't even learn anything from it, right? So if you can learn stuff from it, then it makes a massive difference.
Fail forward, right? We've all heard this business is designed around failure.
Yeah.
You've got to fail forward, and you've got to have those failures to grow.
Right.
There's no other way around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at failure, looking at it as like, I look at it as testing.
Testing.
I did a test and it
didn't work.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you like you said, you debrief, you gather that information, and you get better on the next call.
Right.
That's really it.
All right, Matt. So this has been a great interview. How would someone get a hold of you, and how would they listen to your podcast?
Sure. I'm on Instagram.
Social media, Instagram. So go ahead.
At Phenom Investor on Instagram. YouTube is Matt Garabedian. And love to interact with you guys.
Matt G.
on
YouTube, and Phenom Investor on Instagram. He's on Instagram a lot.
Yeah.
So did you do 75 hard?
No, I haven't.
Did
you? No.
Yeah. That looks scary. No, I know. Isn't that like 45 in the morning and the afternoon and?
It's you got to fit in 2 workouts for 45. One of them has to be outdoors. So if it's snowing or raining, you're outdoors.
Yeah, you're outdoors. Yeah.
And you got to read 10 pages a day.
Mm-hmm.
You got to drink a gallon of water.
I could do that.
Got to take a progress pic.
Okay.
I
could probably do that.
I got 55 days and forgot to do his progress pic. So the key on
and then you have to do it.
Start over.
You start over.
Yeah, if you go to day 55 and you forget to drink a gallon of water or take a progress pic, you're back to day 1.
Or you can't make your secondary workout.
Exactly.
You're done.
So it's not so much a fitness thing; it's a
mental.
Yeah, it teaches. Yeah, and it teaches people how to grit, right? And which we need in entrepreneurship.
So you've been doing a lot of CrossFit.
I've been doing a lot of CrossFit. When you told me in the gym, I don't know if you remember this in San Diego. You're like, dude, used to have a body type like me. He's like, you told me intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
So I started to introduce some intermittent fasting, and I've dropped like 50 pounds.
Really?
Yeah.
I know you look great.
I give you credit.
You gotta keep up with that beautiful wife over there, right?
Yeah.
She's awesome. Oh, so here, I'll give you one more. Try this. Read Plant Paradox from Dr. Gundry. He's actually Tony Robbins' doctor.
Okay.
And so I've cut out sugar.
Wow.
All sugar, all dairy.
Wow.
And all grains.
And that's totally. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not just like a 30-day thing.
No, just cut it out of my diet. All sugar. I used to eat a Greek yogurt and I put granola on top, and then I realized I was eating, that was like 50-something grams of sugar. Do you know what I mean? And all that sugar. But talk about if you want to take, and then you intermittent fast as well. I mean, you'll shred down to nothing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's great.
So
I mean,
cool.
you gotta. Yeah, that's another talk. But yeah, everything's got to be in line.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's about it's about having the whole thing. It's about having the business life, the physical life, the spiritual life, the family life, and being able to have priorities over the top, and then having everything just because why would you want to be super wealthy but be divorced or be super wealthy or be, you know, in terrible health and sick. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, so it's the whole thing packaged. You got the whole package, which is great. Thank you for being here. So, guys, go check him out on Instagram. Thank you guys for being here. Greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
God bless.
God bless.